Welcome graduates, guests, families, and loved ones. We ask that you please take your seats as our convocation ceremony is about to begin.
Good afternoon. It's cozy under here. My name is Nonie Lesaux, and I have the privilege of serving as the Dean of the Harvard Graduate School of Education. I am joined on stage by several of my GSE colleagues, as well as our esteemed speakers who will be introduced as this ceremony unfolds. Together, it is our pleasure to welcome all of you to this year's convocation ceremony, especially the 745 of you who will be graduating tomorrow. Convocation is a time for us to honor and celebrate the HGSE class of 2026. Your individual learning experiences inside and outside the classroom, and your collective impact. It's also an important moment to recognize many of the outstanding individuals who have contributed to our GSE community this year. This is going to be a wonderful afternoon. To begin, it is my great pleasure to introduce the Henry Lee Shattuck Professor of Education and Academic Dean Marty West, who will present the Morningstar Family Teaching Award.
The Morningstar Family Teaching Award is an important annual award recognizing a member of the faculty for excellence in teaching, excellence in formal and informal advising, and evidence of a caring, respectful, and enthusiastic commitment to students. It was established in 2000 with a gift from Faith Morningstar, an HGSE alumna, and her husband, the Honorable Richard Morningstar, an alumnus of the college. Faith's experience as a student here inspired her and her family to establish an award that would not only recognize great teaching, but also those faculty members that help to create a supportive environment in which our students thrive. Please join me in thanking the Morningstar family for their steadfast support of teaching and advising at HGSE. The Morningstar recipient is chosen each year based on nominations by HGSE students. The award includes a monetary prize and recognition on a plaque in Longfellow Hall. This year, students submitted nominations for 89 HGSE faculty members, which is a testament to our faculty's focus on teaching and mentorship. It's always a tough decision, but one faculty member's nominations stood out this year. Here are a few excerpts. Most powerful is this person's unwavering commitment to underserved students. They lead from the front, intellectually, morally, and pedagogically. They spearhead what it means to serve every student that walks through their door. This professor treats students with deep respect, honoring their identities, histories, and aspirations. They've made me realize that the impossible is no longer out of reach, but something I could accomplish. And lastly, Through this person's mentorship, I am confident that I will leave as a stronger, more courageous leader, one who leads with both conviction and heart, just as they do. With that, I'm delighted to share that this year's Morningstar Family Teaching Award winner is Leah Escalera. Leah is a lecturer on education and faculty co-chair of the Higher Education Concentration. Her work is grounded in strategic thinking, planning, and implementation toward effectively advancing access and equity in higher education. I think I need this certificate. Nonie, certificate. Hold on. I have a certificate here.
I'm so sorry.
Come on up. Which reads, in recognition of your excellence in teaching and advising and your careful, respectful, and enthusiastic commitment to students. Please join me again in congratulating Leah. I'll hold this for you.
Thank you, HGSE students, for this incredible honor. When I learned that I was receiving the Morningstar Award this year, I was deeply moved because as an educator, there is nothing greater than hearing that your work matters to your students. So thank you so much. After my initial delight, in came the terror of this exact moment. Standing in front of students, friends, family, my very respected colleagues, to do my least favorite activity, give a speech. Like a good student, I did some research. I Googled the speeches of my colleagues. And this turned out to be a huge mistake because, of course, their speeches were brilliant, because they are so brilliant. But I did learn something important from them. It's a little easier to get through a speech like this if you have some sort of list to organize your thoughts. So, HGSE students, class of 2026, here is my list of unsolicited advice. 3 things I think you should do as you move on to your next adventures. Number 1, thank the people who made today possible. Commencement season is my favorite season, not only because it means we survived another New England winter, but because I love seeing joyful graduates and colleagues all dressed up in their funny outfits and their funny hats, celebrating. By far the best part of commencement season is when I get to meet my students' people. I get to see the pride on their faces when their graduates cross the stage. I get to hear funny stories from their childhoods, and I get a tiny glimpse into the community that loved them and supported them and made their achievements possible. There's a line of poetry by E.E. Cummings I always think about in these moments. Whatever done by only me is your doing. Sometimes we forget to tell people just how much they've shaped our learning. We forget to tell them that the lessons they've taught us live on. They get sampled into the remix of all the work done by only me. Graduates, I hope you have already started your gratitude tour this week as you welcomed your people to Cambridge. Like all of you, nothing I've done has been done by only me. I am also the result of my people, my husband, Chris, my children, Isa and Gabe, my extended and created family, and all of the educators who encouraged me. They made this moment possible, and I am so grateful. In that spirit, I want to thank someone who taught me to value learning, my mother. My mom, Linda, is a CODA, a hearing child of 2 deaf parents. An American Sign Language, or ASL, is her first language. She spent her career as a sign language interpreter for the Commission on the Deaf in Connecticut, and when it was created in 1974, it was the first state agency in the United States focused on the deaf. My mom is long retired, and still, when I run into deaf people, even in Cambridge, or I meet interpreters, within 5 minutes we figure out they know my mom. So I knew that my mom was an interpreter, and I knew that she knew every deaf person in New England. But there was something I didn't know. When I was registering for the SAT, it asked for my parents' level of educational attainment. And when my mom said, "I don't have a college degree," I was surprised. First, because my mom was so obviously smart and she knew about so many things, but also because she was constantly talking about college. She didn't just reference higher education in abstract or vague ways. She spoke in great detail about writing assignments in Introduction to Sociology. When we were on a long car ride, she would ask me if I knew John Dewey, just mention him casually like he was her friend. Her favorite thing to talk about was microbiology, which really was pretty gross at dinner time. Raised by deaf parents in a world not designed for them, my mom learned to be creative when facing a barrier. When a traditional or even a non-traditional pathway to a college degree was not possible for her, she took what she knew how to do, serve the deaf community, and what she valued, learning, and she became a sign language interpreter in college classrooms. Over her career, she followed dozens of deaf students through their associates, their bachelor's, and their master's degrees. Years later, I asked her, "Does it bother you that you don't have a college degree? You could go back. I would help you figure it out." She said, "Nope, I beat the system. In my brain, I have access to so much knowledge, and I never did any of the homework." My mom started and stopped college after high school in her mid-20s and again at 44. Like 43 million working adults in the United States right now, life got in the way of completing a degree. But my mom isn't a statistic. She isn't defined by her credentials. She's defined by her love of learning, her creative thinking, and her passion for making spaces more accessible and more inclusive, even the very college classrooms that were not always accessible to her. I want to thank my mom for teaching me that whether learning is happening in person or on Zoom, in libraries with Mychal Threets, around the kitchen table, in community centers, or on the bus ride home, learning is powerful. Degrees, even degrees from Harvard, will not define you either. You will be defined by how you take what you know and what you value and how you put those two things into action. Some of you know that before coming to HGSE, I spent many years at another institution right down the river, Bunker Hill Community College. When I left Bunker Hill, I was a dean, but in 2008, when I was a graduate student here, I was an adjunct faculty member there. I spent my days learning about higher education policy and practice in Gutman and Larson halls, and at night, I watched the research and theory become real people facing real problems and bringing real promise into community college. So today I want to share a Bunker Hill tradition. When the president opens commencement, she asks students to lift their hands, make the sign for I love you in ASL, and send love and gratitude to the people who made their achievements possible. Since my mom and my dad couldn't be here today, leave it to my little brother to go get engaged in Spain and steal all the attention. I'm going to do the next best thing. I'm going to send them a selfie of this moment, and I would like you to help me. So, students, faculty, family, and friends, please join me in expressing gratitude to your people in the Hugsy community, in Cambridge, across the country, across the world, and with you in spirit while I take a selfie. It looks like this. Okay, we ready? Thank you. All right, advice number 2, ask big questions. Recently, I was at one of my favorite places, College Unbound in Providence, Rhode Island, and a colleague said, if you're focused on a problem that can be solved in your lifetime, you aren't thinking big enough. It made me reflect on the power of questions and the role they play in learning. I learned about questions from my abuela. She was a hairdresser, and when I sat in her chair, she would pump me up to the right height, and I would tell her exactly what hairstyle I wanted. She would smile, and she would nod, and then she would give me whatever haircut she wanted. It was an important lesson. I was clearly not a decision maker. My abuela would wait until she was at a critical juncture, like cutting my bangs. If you've ever had bangs, you know this is a pivotal moment. She would squint at me, and she would say, Nena, and then she would ask me a real big, juicy question. And as she cut my hair, she would not let me get away with skirting around the edges of it. I couldn't fidget. I had to address the big question head on. Like sitting in my abuela's salon, facing big questions reveals power imbalances and deep truths. Big questions are generative. They multiply. Just when you think you have an answer, you realize what you really have is a set of more precise, nuanced, complicated next questions. As educators, it matters what we ask. Our questions have consequences. When students from particular groups, students who are racialized, low income, first generation, students who learn differently, when these students don't accomplish their goals in our institutions, we can ask what is wrong with them, or we can ask the bigger question, what is wrong with us? Where did we go wrong in building learning environments where these students thrive? We can choose to blame students for systems that have failed them, or we can ask the biggest, most unsettling question, how are we complicit in perpetuating the problems we seek to solve? Big questions expose us. They test our beliefs and challenge what we think we know. They require us to resist the urge to turn away from the discomfort of uncertainty, resist just skimming the headlines, reading the summary, reducing people and ideas to caricatures. In a world that is fighting very hard to keep us distracted and distanced, grappling with big questions teaches us to listen carefully, share honestly, and struggle together toward educational justice. So how do we do this? That brings me to my third and final piece of unsolicited advice. Cultivate critical hope. As Rilke asks, how do we live the questions now and sustain that living into the answer? For me, it's a practice of critical hope. And because I'm a faculty member, I am contractually obligated to say, let's unpack that phrase together. To be critical is to notice with precision the ways in which the world is imperfect. You've probably spent your time at HGSE building that muscle. You can now see clearly, maybe more clearly than you ever wanted to, flawed systems, outdated models, bias, the many ways in which educational institutions produce and reproduce inequity. You've been exposed to research and frameworks, theoretical lenses, and an impressive number of multi-syllabic words. You can sling a literature review at an ignorant comment like it's nobody's business. And that is an important skill. But if you stop there, if all you do is point out what's being broken, being critical becomes destructive. It wears us down. In a sector facing public distrust, funding cuts, political overreach, and persistent challenges of access and opportunity, criticism alone will burn us out. To be hopeful is to notice that the world is full of possibilities, to be inspired by the potential of ordinary people to affect change. Hope insists this is not the end of the story. And while hope is essential, hope that waits quietly for the next group of students to do better, the next department chair to retire, the next election cycle to fix everything, that kind of hope allows us to excuse inaction, and it softens us from feeling the sharp edges of injustice. Critical and hope work in partnership. Together, critical hope demands that leaders take up the most difficult challenges, explore the most sensitive subjects, and raise the most daring questions. Critical hope begins with an effective critique of the present and is sustained by a powerful, unifying vision for the future. Critical hope helps us sit in the discomfort of knowing what education is and what it could be. As you leave HGSE and join schools, colleges, organizations, ministries, districts, think tanks, wherever your next adventures take you, don't choose between being a sharp critic or a hopeful idealist. We need you to be both. Lead from an honest assessment of what is broken, an unwavering belief that something better is possible, and a stubborn willingness to figure out how to build it. And if people resist this approach, which they might, critical hope is powerful. Remember, as my 13-year-old daughter Isa taught me to say, that is an ish them, not an ish you. So graduates, before you turn the page on your next chapter, my last assignment for you is to thank the people who made today possible, continue to ask the big questions, and lead with critical hope. And when it is your turn to take over, invite me to the party so I can celebrate all that you've done. Thank you so much for this honor. You have all taught me so much more than I could ever teach you.
Good afternoon. My name is Maritza Hernandez, and I serve as the Senior Associate Dean for Academic Programs and Student Services. I would now like to introduce our first student speaker, Allegra J. Drianda Isdar. Allegra was chosen by our selection committee of faculty, staff, and students to be one of this year's student speakers. A master's candidate in the Human Development and Education program here at HGSE, Allegra is an Indonesian educator and performer. At just 20 years old, Allegra will be graduating from HGSE tomorrow, following her early graduation from the University of Michigan with a bachelor's degree in psychology. Allegra is passionate about early childhood education and health. She has led research in Southeast Asia on girls' education and health, social stigma, practiced in a clinic as a child therapist for kids with autism spectrum disorder, and has taught in early childhood classrooms spanning Indonesia to North America. One day, she hopes to build a school in her hometown of Jakarta. Following graduation, she will embark on a 2-month world tour throughout Europe and Asia with the Harvard Din and Tonics, Harvard's 14-person signature jazz a cappella group. After that, she hopes to start developing her early childhood initiative in Jakarta, while also pursuing work in international education and health consulting on the East Coast. Please join me in welcoming Allegra J. Drianda Isdar to the podium.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Marissa, for that kind introduction. We shall not cease from exploration. At the end of all our exploring shall be to arrive where we started and know the place for the first time. Before we solve a problem, we must first ask who defined it. Esteemed faculty and staff, amazing friends and family, and of course our lovely graduates, the warmest afternoon to you all. My name is Allegra Jade Drianda Istar. I'm 20 years old and I'm from Jakarta, Indonesia. I'm so humbled to stand here before you, graduating amongst a constellation of the brightest minds at this bright place, the Harvard Graduate School of Education. Thank God it's a beautiful and warm day out, otherwise I don't know if the brilliant part would be as apparent. This is a joke, of course. Hugsy in all types of weather and becoming is beautiful, and I'm here to share with you a moment here that changed my thinking about education and turned it on its head. Spoiler alert, it involves a bicycle in Dr. Fernando Reamer's office in Gutman Library. Hi, Dr. Reamers. But before we go there, here's the lesson that I took from it, that what we think we see is not always what is there. When I first entered Hugsy, I knew that I wanted to solve problems for people. Growing up seeing a lot of education inequity in my hometown, I wrote in my statement of purpose that my purpose was to change these education realities for students back home, an ambition that I think many of you share. So I took the course here with Dr. Fernando Reamers, where we worked as policy analysts and research consultants with real clients to solve real problems, which is just what I wanted. My team's problem, fittingly for me, was based in Papua, Indonesia. The problem our client had was that teachers were not coming to school, and therefore children were not learning. We had to solve this problem to get the children to learn. Now, in real-world practice, problems never present themselves as givens. They are messy and layered, and they're never certain. And maybe this is true not just in policy, but in everyday life. When we as humans are faced with problems, we tend to want to solve them quickly, simply, elegantly. And for my team in this project, the more research we did, the more convoluted the problem became. And we began to believe that a big systemic problem required a big systemic complex solution. So at this time, believing that I had the best research solution ever, I went to Dr. Reamer's office hours with a lot of earnest and said quickly and confidently, okay, so this is me recreating the moment. We'll monitor teachers with this app, and then they're going to upload pictures, and they're going to use those pictures, and we'll tie them to the incentives, and then that's how we're going to get all the teachers to come. But Dr. Reamers only looked at me, and there was a pause between us. He said, Allegra, have you thought about giving the teachers a bicycle, maybe? And I said, what? He said, feel what the teachers feel. Know the reason of the problem. They cannot get to the schools in the first place. And that was my realization, that the teachers were not refusing to show up, they just couldn't even arrive. And who was I to recommend all these cameras and incentives? In that moment, I realized I wasn't solving the problem, but I was redefining it from far away. I thought that the research and the theory gave me the full story that I needed, but that was not correct. Failure in this situation was of the conditions and not the people, similar to what Leah had said earlier. Once again, failure was of the conditions and not the people. This situation taught me that sometimes the most important thing we can do is take a second look, but not at the problem and all its layers from far away, but by looking at the heart, the people, because that's who education is for, correct? Our solution in the end wasn't just a bicycle, but this metaphorical bicycle helped us think about things differently. It allowed us to go back to the people, ask better questions to the people, listen more carefully to the people. And now I understand the importance of a human-centered solution. The solution belongs to them. So graduates, when you face a problem, you may be tempted to create a solution that is elegant and Dedalian, reflective of your education and all that you've learned. But whether it's in your classroom or your company or your policy work, or even in everyday situations when there is a person standing in front of you, think first, what am I not seeing? And what does this look like for this person in front of me? Question what the problem feels like for others before deciding what it is. That's what Hugsy taught me. Otherwise, we risk treating people as objects to be managed rather than people to be understood. So graduates, go forward from today and remember to always take that second look, because we shall not cease from exploration. At the end of all our exploring shall be to arrive where we started and know the place for the first time. And when you arrive there, may we have the courage to always see clearly. That is how we will change the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Allegra, and congratulations. It is my pleasure to present you with the 2026 Convocation Student Speaker Award commemorating this honor. Okay. It is now my pleasure to present the 2026 Commencement Marshals. Commencement Marshals are elected by their peers for their leadership, their involvement in the HGSE community, and their commitment to service. They are honored as exemplary role models and representatives of the Harvard Graduate School of Education. 2 marshals are elected for the PhD in Education program and from the Doctor of Education Leadership program. 1 marshal is elected from the Certificate of Advanced Study in Counseling in each of the 6 master's programs. As I read each student's name, they will step forward to receive the Marshal's Medallion to be worn at tomorrow's commencement. The marshals for the PhD in Education program are Jeanette Garcia Coppersmith, and Santiago Pulido Gomez. And the marshals for the Doctor of Education Leadership program are Tamisha Webb, and Rebecca Westlake. And the marshal for the Certificate of Advanced Study program in Counseling, Yi Ting Ying. And the marshals for the Masters of Education are, for the Education Leadership Program, Stephanie Thornton. In the Education Leadership Organizations and Entrepreneurship Program, Juliana Kraus. In the Education Policy and Analysis Program, Ignacio Rodriguez Artunduaga. In the Human Development and Education Program, Helen Yin. In the Learning, Design, Innovation, and Technology Program, Erin Fang. And in the Teaching and Teacher Leadership Program, Sophie Wang. Congratulations to all of our marshals. I would now like to introduce our second student speaker, Yesenia Perez. Yesenia was chosen by our selection committee of faculty, staff, and students to be one of this year's student speakers. Here at HGSE, Yesenia is a candidate in the Education Leadership Program, a fully online program. During her time here at HGSE, Yesenia has worked in science education and public engagement, helping to translate NASA data into meaningful learning experiences for public audiences. After graduation, Yesenia plans to continue working at the intersection of education, strategy, and public impact. Please join me in welcoming Yesenia Perez to the podium.
Good afternoon, I should say. It's a bit hot today, so mind the sweat. This speech is called What Held. There is a moment before class begins when the screen is full of almost connected, almost present, almost ready. The little squares on the screen begin to blink on. A name appears, then a face, then a kitchen, a bookshelf, a lamp. It's doing its best. A tired smile. You can still feel the day on people. Work, children, commutes, deadlines, the unfinished life just off camera. And then somehow the room forms. That is what stays with me from Hugsy. Not only the readings, not only the slide decks, not even the theory, although I did love the theory. What stays with me is the moment a room becomes more than its agenda. Someone risks saying the thing they do not yet know how to say well. Nobody punishes the unfinished thought. Someone leans in instead of away. A question is treated not like a hurdle, but like a door that's open. I saw that here again and again. I saw people with full lives still making space for someone else. I saw care without performance. I saw rigor without cruelty. I saw disagreement without disappearance. And in a time when education is under pressure to be faster, cleaner, more measurable, more marketable, that felt radical, because what made me optimistic at HGSE was not the promise that education would somehow save itself. It was the people who know that a classroom is more than a place where information flows. It is a place where dignity is either reinforced or denied, where curiosity is widened or managed. It is a place where you can become more visible to yourself or learn, once again, to remain small. What gave me hope was watching people here refuse smallness, refuse easy certainty, refuse the habit of treating people like problems to sort. Instead, I watched us practice a different future, one where attention is a form of care, one where making room is part of the work, one where learning is not just about mastery, but about what we are willing to hold open for one another. I think that is the future of education, if we are brave enough. Not perfection, not prestige, not one brilliant answer descending from above, just this. A room people can enter without leaving themselves behind. A room where complexity does not have to apologize. A room where a thought can stay alive. A room where more of us can remain human. I saw rooms like that here, and that is why I'm optimistic. Because the future of education is not abstract to me anymore. It has voices, it has faces, it has tired people showing up anyway. It has people making room. It has us. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessie. And this is a token for your speech today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It is now my pleasure to present the Phyllis Strimling Award. This award was created in 2000 to honor Phyllis Strimling, an HGSE alumna from the class of 1989 and the former director of the Radcliffe Seminars program. I am so pleased to welcome Phyllis at today's convocation, as well as Holly Weeks, Rob Scalia, and Neil Janowski, the three former Radcliffe Seminar faculty who created the award. Thank you. Please, it gives me great pleasure to share that this year marks the 25th anniversary of the first granting of this award. The Phyllis Strimling Award recognizes an HGSE student who works to advance society by advancing women, demonstrates inclusive leadership and is inspirational to others, promotes community as a management approach, and demonstrates the ability to employ multiple perspectives in sound decision-making. This year's recipient is Alfred Santos, candidate in the Education Leadership Master's Program. Alfred Santos was born and raised in a small town in the Philippines, where he spent the first few years of his teaching career. He later moved to Yuma, Arizona, where he currently serves as a district STEM program coordinator and is a multi-awarded STEM educator. Passionate about expanding access to STEM education for underrepresented students, he started initiatives such as Young Latina Students for STEM, the Adopt a Little Scientist program, and Spark, Science, Play, Arts, Reading, and Knowledge, to support young women, English learners, and rural students in pursuing research and leadership opportunities in science and engineering. Through his leadership, he has secured approximately $150,000 in STEM grants to expand STEM access and opportunities within his community. He has also mentored and supported students to achieve success at regional, national, and international STEM competitions, including producing 5 female national STEM champions and multiple finalists and winners at the Regenerian International Science and Engineering Fair. Alfred was recognized as the 2022 Arizona Science Teacher of the Year and a champion educator of science and engineering for his advocacy and contributions to STEM education. Please join me in congratulating this year's Phyllis Strimling Award winner, Alfred Santos. This afternoon, we are thrilled to welcome back one of our own Harvard Graduate School of Education alumna and an award-winning country songwriter and performer, Eliza Smith. Known to many in our community as Leah Waldo. While a student at the Harvard Graduate School of Education, Eliza attended an event with Garth Brooks and Trisha Yearwood in Asquith Hall and shared that she loved music but struggled with debilitating stage fright. Garth invited her on stage to perform, handed her his guitar, and told her to sing her heart out. That moment changed the course of her life. And remarkably, she'll be performing with that same guitar this afternoon. Since then, Eliza has become an award-winning artist known for blending vintage country storytelling with rock and roll grit. She has performed across the continent, appeared on NPR and WBUR, and recently received the Josie Award for Best Female Country Song of the Year at the Grand Ole Opry. Please join me in welcoming Eliza Smith.
Thank you all so much. How y'all doing? All right, we're gonna bring a little honky tonk to Harvard. Is that all right? All right. So this song I wrote for my daughter. It's called My Daughter's Hands. It's about hope and also just maintaining that childlike curiosity to make the world a better place. Time moves so slowly before it slips away.
but I don't feel the hours run watching you play. 10 tiny little fingers, curious and stubborn, brave and unsure, so much to learn. I wonder how many hearts they're gonna break, searching in the dark to find their way. I see the world in my daughter's hands, what it could be and what it could have been. I kiss her tiny nose and I whisper soft and low, I have hope with the world in my daughter's hands. If the eyes are the window, the hands must be the door. They prove what's deep within the soul. Hers make things of beauty, strange, wild, and squiggly, powerful in love, joyful and free. I wonder how many hearts they're gonna mend with the wisdom and the strength of a woman. I see the world in my daughter's hands, what it could be and what it could have been. I kiss her tiny nose and I whisper soft and low, I have hope with the world in my daughter's hands. I see the world in my daughter's hands, what it could be and what it could have been. I kiss her tiny nose and I whisper soft and low, I have hope with the world in my daughter's hands. I have hope with the world in my daughter's hands.
Thank you very much. Congratulations, everyone.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Eliza, for sharing your talent with us this afternoon. Okay, I would now like to introduce our third student speaker, Ignacio Rodriguez Artuduaga. Ignacio, who is known by his peers as Nacho, was chosen by our selection committee of faculty, staff, and students to be one of this year's student speakers. Here at HGSE, Nacho is a candidate in the Education Policy Analysis program, concentrating in global, international, and comparative education. Before coming to HGSE, he was a Fulbright scholar, an English teacher in his hometown of Pitalito, Huila, Colombia, and a program director with an NGO supporting immigrants through digital skills and English education. Because someone believed in Nacho, education opened doors he was never supposed to walk through. Watching his students face those same closed doors made one thing clear to him: he couldn't just walk through them alone. Nacho wants to make sure that where you were born and what you were never given no longer determine how far you go. After graduation, Nacho will serve as a Harvard Bloomberg City Hall Fellow in Chile, working under the Department of Local Economic Development to expand job opportunities for workers in their communities. Please join me in welcoming Ignacio Rodriguez Artuduaga to the podium.
Wow.
I'm just gonna say the room fills with love and I feel with gratitude. Before I start, I wanna take a brief moment to talk to someone very special. My parents, who are in Colombia, Betty and Gilberto. Papitos, lo logramos. When I was 7 years old, I discovered I was adopted. My first request was to meet my siblings as soon as possible. My beautiful parents, Betty and Gilberto, driven by the profound love they have for me, agreed. And we traveled from Pitalito, Huila, Colombia, to a small rural town to meet them. 19 years have passed since that day. And inevitably, I have asked myself, who would I have been if I had grown up with them? Where would I be? How would I speak? What dreams would I carry? And as you know me, most importantly, how would I dance? Those questions never left me. But they gave me something without me realizing it. A deep conviction that we are not born into who we become. That we are shaped by experiences, by people, and worse. When I arrived at HGSE, I found the space, the people, and now the voice to ask better questions. What experiences mark, shape, transform us? What people change us? What words matter to us? What makes us who we are? The answer shifts the more I think about it, but there is one variable that remains constant, one that shows a significant positive association with becoming who I am. Did you hear that, Professor Melanie, Professor Joe? That significant positive association is someone believed in me. During equity class with Professors Stern and Bray, in our very first week, I know, it's been a long time, I realized that my identity was entangled in what others had decided I was. The names I had been called, the pain I carried, my class, my gender, my nationality, everything I was never allowed to be. I discovered a little later in a conversation with a dear friend that I had built my entire sense of self around the suffering others had given me, as many of us do. But then I thought of my parents, who were certain I was a singer, a poet, a writer while I was growing up. My favorite teacher, Sol, who knew I could go to university. My sister, Isa, who knew I could achieve anything I had in my mind. I was her unstoppable dreamer. Harvard, which looked at me and said, "You belong here." Wait, let me rephrase that. We belong here. And of course, Credit to my students who thought that I was a performance actor only there to entertain them until next class. So here's what I learned at HGSE. Changing the world takes believing you actually can. Not the naive kind of belief that ignores how hard it is, but the stubborn, grounded kind. The kind that others planted in me. So, when people ask me what I intend to do with my HGSE degree, next year, in 10 years, in 20 years, the answer is short. Creer. Believe. Believe in our children when the world stops offering them a second chance. Believe in our power when the room fills with fear. Believe that others can also change. Believe for the ones who have lost the ability to believe in themselves. Dear friends, let us be grounded in belief when the world chooses not to. Let the legacy we leave be guided by the good we inspire, the words we say, and the lives we touch. Let us rise, not only beyond what has defined us, but also toward what we can become. Because someone believed in us. Now, it is our turn to believe. De creer. Thank you.
Okay, this year HGSE launched the Appian Awards, designed as prestigious honors that recognize graduating students to embody our institutional values of academic excellence, inclusive engagement, and collective impact. We invited students, faculty, and staff to submit nominations, and we received 163 total nominations for 99 different students. Students from across the programs were nominated, and 8 were chosen by a selection committee composed of HGSE faculty and staff. These 8 students have helped foster a climate that allowed for shared learning and intellectual growth inside and outside the classroom, created new spaces or added value to existing ones where all voices could be heard and valued, inspired others through their words and actions to engage across perspectives with empathy, intellectual rigor, and mutual respect, and demonstrated a commitment to and action towards positive social impact, expanding opportunities and outcomes for learners everywhere. As I read each student's name, they will step forward to receive a certificate and a gold honor cord to be worn tomorrow at tomorrow's commencement. The inscription on the certificate reads, "In recognition of your academic excellence, inclusive engagement, and collective impact on the HGSE community." From the Education Leadership Program, Kelly Cray. From the Doctor of Education Leadership Program, Derek Hollyfield. From the Teaching and Teacher Leadership Program, Zhang Lei. From the Human Development and Education Program, Stephanie Lee. From the Education Leadership Program, Melvin Lowe. From the Education Policy and Analysis Program, Ignacio Rodriguez Artunduaga. From the Education Leadership Program, Amy White. From the Education Leadership Program, from the Human Development and Education Program, Arden Woodall. Once again, congratulations to all of the recipients of the Appian Award, and thank you for enriching the HGSE student experience. I would now like to take a moment to thank this year's cohort of Empowerment and Impact Fellows. The Empowerment and Impact Fellows program provides a range of learning experiences for students who are invested in collaborating across differences to catalyze change. The fellows have been taught and supported by Human Horoni, an HGSE lecturer on education, and by Joe Pinto, their program coordinator. This year, the 16 fellows worked with 7 school districts in Massachusetts, state and local institutions, and various nonprofits, including conducting initiatives at the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, Massachusetts Municipal Association, Washington, D.C. Department of Youth, Rehabilitation, and the New England Center for Children. Would the fellows, Human and Joe, please stand so we can show our appreciation for their service? Along with this year's Empowerment and Impact Fellows, I want to acknowledge and thank all those who led and in some cases designed and created student groups this academic year, including our numerous student organizations and affinity groups. I also want to acknowledge 2 of our student representatives within the Harvard Graduate Council, Helen Yin and Nancy Yee, who recently received special awards from the Harvard Graduate Council for their engagement, volunteerism, and contributions to HGC committees. I ask that Helen, Nancy, and all of our student group and organization leaders stand so we can show our appreciation for your service. And while I'm on the subject of outstanding student contributions, it has been inspiring to witness the ways you, the class of 2026, have supported one another. And just as inspiring to see how you've chosen to support the students who will follow in your footsteps. Each year, we invite our graduating students to make a class gift in support of financial aid for next year's students so that others can fulfill their dreams of studying at HGSE. This year, more than 220 of you answered this call. Together, you raised an impressive $10,715 for financial aid. Thank you for taking part in this tradition and for helping future students to access the learning opportunities and experiences that make HGSE so special. Thank you.
At Convocation, we celebrate not only the accomplishments of our graduates, but also the broader ecosystem of people and places that nurture learning across a lifetime. In that spirit, it is my great pleasure to welcome this year's Convocation speaker, librarian and champion of libraries, the newest host of Reading Rainbow, and the resident librarian for PBS Kids, Mychal Threets. I got a few things. Mychal is a singular voice who reminds us in the best possible way of the profound and joyful role that libraries play in child and youth development, community well-being, and cultivating literacy and educational opportunity. Across the country and around the world, libraries remain among our most universal public institutions, hubs of literacy, digital access, early childhood programming, community engagement, family support, and civic participation. In the US alone, public libraries receive more than 800 million visits each year, about 2.2 million every single day. And globally, that figure climbs into the billions. Libraries serve as essential, quote, third spaces, unquote, a concept many of our graduates know well. Shared community environments beyond home and beyond the formal structures of school or work, where people gather, learn, exchange ideas, and build community. In his influential book, Palaces for the People, the eminent sociologist Eric Kleinenberg calls libraries a vital form of social infrastructure, the shared physical spaces where community itself is built. He argues they are among the most inclusive and democratic spaces we have, free, accessible, intergenerational, and deeply connected to community life. They are pillars of social cohesion and civic engagement. And at the center of the library are knowledgeable and caring experts. A librarian's expertise spans child development, storytelling, digital literacy, community programming, and the complexities of information in a rapidly changing world. I was reminded of this earlier today when we hosted Mychal and a group of local librarians for lunch at Lovestruck Books on Brattle Street. That bookstore is owned by our own GSE alum, Rachel Cantor, who was a teacher in Boston and New York City. Today's gathering was nothing short of inspiring. These librarians care deeply about fostering curiosity, learning, and community. And few embody this expertise and its human impact more fully than our speaker today. Mychal speaks often about his own journey, which began fittingly inside a library. Homeschooled, Mychal received his first library card at age 5 and says he grew up in the Solano County, California library. His first job there was shelving books, the first step toward eventually becoming the library's supervising librarian. He describes his path, this path, as a tribute to the library people who raised him. Mychal has also figured out how to reach children and families and educators well beyond the library walls. His joyful, affirming videos about library kids, library grown-ups, belonging and emotional wellness, and the everyday magic of public libraries have earned millions of views, more than 1.6 million followers across TikTok and Instagram. When he stepped into the role, this newest host, as newest host of Reading Rainbow, the first 4 pilot episodes garnered 48 million views. He was named honorary chair of the American Library Association's National Library Week 2026, a reflection of both the visibility and impact of this work. The association's president, Sam Helmick, captured it beautifully, saying, "Mychal represents the best of us." Others have compared him to his Reading Rainbow predecessor, LeVar Burton, and even to the iconic Mr. Rogers. His work has been recognized with the I Love My Librarian Award, a spot among the school library journal's movers and shakers, and especially inclusion in Time's Next Generation Leaders and its inaugural list of 100 creators. It's so easy today to feel overwhelmed by the urgency of the literacy challenges we face here in the US and around the world. And we know that schools alone cannot solve them. That's why I'm thrilled that Mychal is here. He brings an optimistic view to a persistent challenge and reminds us of what public institutions can make possible. Mychal's going to begin with a few formal remarks. We'll then play a short video about what libraries mean to some very special members of our HGSE community, and then we're going to sit down just for a few questions. Please join me in welcoming the Internet's librarian, Mychal Threets.
Hello, everybody. I am so happy to be here. Congratulations to you all. Harvard Graduate School of Education. This is so amazing. This is such a special day. I am truly thankful to be alive, to be here with you today. There have definitely been times in my life where I didn't think I would still be alive, that I didn't want to be in the world, and today is definitely a reason to stay. Today is definitely a day where I'm so glad to be in your presence. You're all so wonderful. You look beautiful. I don't have any kids, but I imagine this is what being a parent must feel like. Looking at every single one of you, seeing in all your beautiful clothes. I really am just so happy to be here. I love libraries. I have a library card tattooed on me. I am the library's biggest fan in the entire world. You cannot have the title. You mentioned 800 million visits to libraries. I'm probably responsible for at least 100 million of those visits to libraries. I am very confident. I will try to keep it as short as I possibly can. I know that we're all out here baking and we're doing the best we can. I know I'm sweating. Yesterday, a library kid told me, look everyone, that librarian is sweating. He looks so shiny. And I'm like, thank you, unhinged library kid. I appreciate you. I have had so much fun on this trip. I don't get to come to Boston too often. Last time was to get a visit of GBH, and I got to meet Arthur Reed. So that was an amazing dream come true for a PBS kid like myself. But this has also been a special trip just to be celebrating all of your special days. You work so hard. You've come so far. I know there's so often where we don't think that we belong, but you've proven how much you belong, how worthy you are about all these wonderful things. I love educators. I'm a son of a teacher. I see therapists and psychiatrists way too often, more than anyone should. I am proudly team Live, Laugh, Lexapro. All of you, I'm sure, will be joining various members of these teams very, very soon as you delve into your careers. But as much as I've had so much fun, as much as this was also just a special honor, I talk about my library card tattoo. I have at least 14 library cards in my wallet right now, and two of the very special ones, and I apologize to the caption people because I'm totally going off cuff right now. Two of my most favorite library cards, I have my grandmother's library card. She passed away at the age of 90, and she's a person from Arkansas who didn't get to have a library card when she was a little girl. She didn't get to go to libraries. She didn't get to learn how to read, but she eventually did. She moved to California and she got a library card. And I have her library card. That shows how far libraries have come. That's her legacy. Yes, absolutely. I love my grandmother. It's her legacy. It's keeping her with me all the time. And I want you guys to remember your legacy. It's not just starting, it happened the day you were born. And this is just the next step, the next journey in your legacy. And I hope you're as proud of yourselves as I am proud of you. And the other library card that I want to talk about is just so special. I was in Connecticut yesterday and I got to meet the mother, yes, go Connecticut. I was in Connecticut yesterday and I got to meet the mother and brother of Ana Grace Marquez Green, one of the 26 lives stolen from Sandy Hook Elementary School. And it was so special, so humbling to meet her mother and brother and just to see how much joy they have. Yes, they're grieving, they're experiencing so many emotions, but this level of joy that I've experienced today around every single one of you is how much joy they're living with. They remember Ana Grace all of the time. And I'm just so happy that Ana Grace's mom gave me Ana Grace's library card that she has kept all these years, and she asked me to be the keeper of Ana Grace's library card. And it was just so special. I love being able to be the keeper of that kind of a library card. And I just would hope that you all remember that you are the keeper of your own stories. You're writing your stories each and every day, especially as you delve into education, as you reach so many library kids, so many people. You have so many opportunities to change lives, to impact lives. You're difference makers, you're change makers, and that starts right now in this very moment. And I'm so proud of you. And now to my actual remarks. My name is Mychal Threets, Mychal the librarian. Hello, butterflies in the sky. This librarian is so very proud to be here with you today, celebrating education, celebrating you, There is so much going on in a messy world, but today is an especially good, messy day. We are blessed to share in your hard work, to share in your graduation. You did it. I'm so happy for you. I'm so proud of you. You are the helpers my hero, Mr. Rogers, has always spoken of. You are going to be in classrooms. You're going to be all over the world. You are going to be impacting lives, and I hope you never forget that. It's okay to not know your next steps. It's okay to not know things. I say I don't know all the time. I believe more grown-ups should. That's the beauty of libraries, of education. We don't know things, but we have the resources to find the answers, especially together. Today is the best day to not know things. Today is the best day to just be, to exist, to revel in the joy of your hard work, to rejoice because you are here, because you are actively working to be an active participant in making the world less terrible, in the words of my friend Blair Amani. Please don't forget your impact. Please don't forget how much your existence matters. You've accomplished something incredible. No one can ever take this away from you. On your hardest day, please, please, please remember, I belong. I am worthy. Because that's the truth. You are educators. You deserve everything good. We are thankful for you. We are proud of you. We love you. You are changing the world for the better. You are my heroes. You're going to make a difference in so many lives. It starts today. You've made a difference. It's okay to not know things. You are making an impact. You belong. You are worthy. Thank you for being helpers. You did it. Congratulations. Thank you so much. Yes, absolutely, and yes. Absolutely, yes. Heart to all of you, yes. And I know they want to play the video and get to our conversation, but just one of my favorite library stories before we do, just so you guys can know the unhinged work that you're going into. I love little people. I think they're very wholesome. They're very funny. They are walking intrusive thoughts. But they are some of the most unhinged people I've ever met in the entire world. That comes from a person who named their cats Kissing Cat Barlow and Machine Gun Kitty. But my favorite one, I was a librarian. I've been a librarian, library worker for going on 13 years. And I used to visit sites all the time and do story time. And I remember one of the Head Start sites I visited on a weekly basis, and I really got to know them. And I got to the site one day, and one of the kids runs up to me, and they're like, "Mr. Mychal, I lost my tooth." And I could see this child is actively bleeding from their mouth. They have blood coming down. And I'm like, "Where is your teacher? Why am I the first one you're coming up to tell this?" I didn't say that out loud. I just said, "Congratulations, let's go find your teacher." So we walked over, and we're still talking. We're talking about their lost tooth. And they're like, "Mr. Mychal, I'm going to see you tonight," which is something that an educator never wants to hear from a child that is not their own. And I said, and I'm a curious person. Educators, library people, we like gossip. We like the tea too much. And I shouldn't have said anything, but I just go, "I don't want to ask, but I have to. Why do you think you're going to see me tonight?" And this library kid goes, "Because you're the tooth fairy." And I'm like, and I know I'm not the tooth fairy. And this child just goes, "Yeah, you're the tooth fairy." And by this time, the teacher has arrived. They're cracking up. And I just go, why do you think I'm the tooth fairy? And they say, "Because you have pretty, poofy princess hair," which is apparently one of the main qualifications of being the tooth fairy. And I just go, "Buddy, I'm not the tooth fairy. I'm so sorry. You're not going to see me tonight." And they just look so dejected, and they look down, but then they just look up and they go, "That's something the tooth fairy would say. I'll see you tonight, Mr. Mychal." And that is the life you are all in store for as educators. I hope you're ready. I know you're ready, and I can't wait to see you in libraries in the world of education.
Hey, good to talk to everybody in this microphone. And I work in the Gutman Library.
Libraries matter to me because it's
I really like nonfiction, and there's a whole section of nonfiction. My favorite is actually the human body.
I've always loved going to libraries ever since I was a child.
I remember it as a space of total freedom.
My mom lets me walk 3 minutes from my house to the big library.
I think that libraries matter to us. They are places where we can create community and also find amazing free books.
They're places where people feel like they can belong and feel safe.
And although I haven't been to my childhood library in about 10 years, I still remember exactly what it looks like.
I remember my mom taking me to the library. It was always a family thing.
And there's no greater joy for me, through the eyes of a parent or a grandparent, to see young people going into a library.
Having those moments of perusing the stacks, asking yourself, is this something I would read, and being able to have that agency.
I associate libraries with sense of joy and access to knowledge.
Just this week, they have a Stitch Circle, a grieving and healing support group, a Magic the Gathering hangout.
I think libraries are important because you get to see how it feels to know about other people's stories of life.
I remember when I arrived in Cambridge, in a new country, in a new city, and one of the first places I went was a library because there I feel at home.
I think they're one of the most trusted third spaces that we have that should be protected.
Libraries create access, they spark imagination beyond your background and your zip code.
It's just very cool. I don't really know how to describe it.
I am who I am today because of libraries.
And I love the environment. That's why I'm here forever. Thank you.
Well, I'm sorry that we're going to have to wrap this afternoon, but I just want to borrow from Mychal's book title and say to you, I am so happy you're here.
I'm so happy to be here.
What a genuine delight. I also want to say, isn't this just the very best school on the Harvard campus?
I think so. All the educators, absolutely.
I think we'll just keep this to a couple things. There's so much that I know we all want to talk about, and I hope this is just the beginning of a conversation.
I hope so.
But on this topic of storytelling, so we heard it in the video, we heard a lot of that from our student speakers. I would love to just hear, what is it to you about the magic of storytelling? Like, what is that magic in your mind?
The magic of storytelling, I think it's being raised by children's librarians. I was homeschooled from when I was kindergarten all the way till I was a senior in high school. And I think just the way that my mom would tell stories, the way that my grandma would read the monster at the end of this book and do the Grover voice. I think it's everything that Mr. Rogers did with his calm voice and telling us, I like you just the way you are. There's no one in the whole world who is like you. I think it's LeVar Burton introducing us to books, telling us reading is fun, it's cool, it's for everybody. It's Bob Ross making Happy Little Accidents. I think the magic of storytelling is that there are stories for everybody, that it is a magical thing, that all reading is reading, the audiobooks are real reading, the graphic novels are real reading. One of my favorites is Matilda. And I think that's like the most beautiful version of the magic of storytelling, just saying, yes, this place, this library, these stories are my refuge, my sanctuary. So I think that's the magic of storytelling, is that we're all capable of storytelling, that we all have a story to tell.
Yeah, amazing. And I will say that as a child, after devouring books and being at my public library for the first decade of my own life, my very first job was at a children's bookstore. And I actually would tell you how old I was, but I realized last night they were probably breaking Canadian labor laws by having me work. But I did a lot of shelving and stacking, which I loved, and I did the Saturday morning story hour. Nice. And there were these kids who came every single week, and it was just the very best. Which led me to think about, and having read lots about your work and listened to your messages, why especially do you think in times of change, and I think we would all agree that in this moment, globally, societally, information, rapid transformation in the way that we're working and living and talking, what is it about stories that matter so much, especially during times of change?
Stories always matter, especially during times of change. I think we're always ready for change in ways that we don't. I think that's why I'm so obsessed with Library Joy. I think I'm a person who found out that I'm diagnosed as autistic and I have ADHD on March 27th. So I haven't even known for 2 months that I'm this way. I know other people have. They're like, Mychal, you didn't know?
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, give me some time, please.
Let me read some books about that.
Exactly, yeah. Give me some time. Let me research. Let me calm down on this. No, I think stories in times of change are so important. I think that's what I learned at the library, talking to neurodivergent kids. I think even having conversations with people who are unhoused and homeless, people who seem forgotten, who feel invisible, and just knowing that, hey, yes, you belong. In my book, I write, you belong at this library with your dads, with your mom, with your abuela. And I think that's why we need stories more than ever during times of change, because so often we're feeling all these emotions, all these feelings, and we think we can only stick to one when we're struggling, when we're worried, when we're anxious. We almost think we don't give ourselves permission to also feel joy.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's so wonderful about stories during times of change, is that we always have permission to feel joy.
Yeah.
Joy never leaves us, and I think that's something that we have to remember more and more often, and that's why I love hearing people's stories. That's why I love hearing all the student stories and just meeting so many people, is just saying, yes, this is a story, this is a person,
And the
we're all
human
neighbors, we all have the power to create change.
That's right. To be transported too, right?
Yes.
Into others' lives and into others' worlds.
Exactly.
Okay, I have to ask about Reading Rainbow, because I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't. Okay, so if you're like me and you have the privilege of being in midlife, you might have that theme song in your head right now. The original show ran for 26 years.
It did.
26 Emmys, 250 awards. At its peak, 6.5 million viewers a week. That show launched in '83. If we fast forward to 2026, Buffalo, Toronto's public media, right, decides to reboot, co-produce the new season with Sony Pictures.
Yes.
The 4 pilot episodes run on Kidzuko and the Reading Rainbow YouTube channel, and we have 48 million views. That leads to an order for 24 more episodes.
Yes.
Ground us for a moment, like, what do you think that is for people? 48 million views, a mere 4 episodes. What do we have here?
I think what we have is that it shows how much people need stories, that they want to be a part of books, that it's something that can change people. I love that kids come up to me and they're like, I didn't know you could be a YouTuber about books. And I'm like, yes, you can. I didn't know either. So I think what we have is just we have this rekindling. We think of,
No.
Oh, yeah. We think about this literacy crisis, which we're in. But with every single one of you, we're coming out of this crisis, and we're giving stories back to people. I think that's what we're doing. We're empowering people to join in stories, and that's why I love being a part of it. I love that there are kids who come up to me and they're like, how do I become the host of Reading Rainbow?
Right.
And I'm like, I just started. Hold on. Give me a few more years. But I think that's what we have. I think we have hope. We have joy. So I love that there's kids out there who want to steal my job.
And you have YouTube telling us you can get to know Mychal and be immersed in books and on YouTube, right? So I'm thinking about this with my literacy hat on, with all the concerns about the screen time and the third space, right? And all of a sudden, we start to imagine possibilities that all of a sudden, you may be no different to a youngster today than Fred Rogers was on the screen to us, right? We're talking back, we're connecting.
Yes.
Okay, we're up against time. I'm going to ask you one more serious one, and then I want to just end with a fun anecdote. On the digital media, you have been very successful, Mychal, with both digital media and traditional media. And I love that too, because I think we got to get away from the either or. It's all here, and it's all here to stay. And of course, we worry a great deal about the ever-present screen. How do we hook kids and their families these days for the good and in light of just how cluttered it all is out there?
Yeah.
How do you think about the hooks?
It's, you know what, it's very, very...
Sorry you're so shiny.
Oh, I'm shiny. This is Boston Shine. No, I think it's very, very difficult to hook kids. I think what we don't often do is we don't have conversations with kids. I think as grown-ups, as adults, we're so worried about them, we forget to ask them questions. So I always like to ask them questions to learn from them because they're far more, as much as they are unhinged, they're far more wise than we give them credit for.
Yeah.
So I think just hooking them, and I think what I do is I love that the library is so much more than just books. It's all about books. I have an entire sleeve of book tattoos. But I think it's really special to say, to acknowledge that you don't have to love reading to be a library kid. I think that's the first thing to hook them with, is to say, wherever you're at is more than enough.
Right.
There's so many kids who are dyslexic, who have learning disabilities, and saying it's okay that you don't like books right now. To give them the chance to say, it's always gonna be here for you. So it's letting them read Dog Man 1,000 times. It's letting them read Dork Diaries, Diary of a Wimpy Kid, digging into Jason Reynolds and Jerry Craft and Raina Telgemeier and Kelly Yang and all these different people, and just giving them the chance to say, you know what, just keep on trying. Trying is more than enough. Put in that effort. I think when you show them genuinely that whatever level of reader they're at, whatever level of library person they are, is more than enough. I think kids often don't feel like they're enough. And for an adult, for educators to say, you are enough. I promise, I see you. You can't even see yourself right now, but I see you. It means so much.
And I think when I think back to the evolution of libraries all the way through to today's sort of collective impact model and cradle to career and community spaces, I think about them at the vanguard of some of what is now universal design in education. They had the books on tape long before long before that was accessible to others, right? They have been inviting one in to the notion of storytelling, to the notion of community and literacy, and to the notion of gathering in place. Okay, can we end on something fun?
Yes, please.
I want to end on the theme of pets and their connection to storytelling and belonging and community. And I'm going to do this for a few reasons. One is that our family's favorite book for many, many years that I think I have memorized is The Library Lion.
Yes.
And in The Library Lion, the lion starts coming to the library, and he has to figure out how to belong. The library has its rules. The story kind of gently makes the case that warmth and kindness matter just as much as the rules. So with that, I loved reading about your you have some early memories on pets and libraries too, right? That the Solano County had this pet parade, and you had a certain cat who you were sure had won the only ribbon. Then I also recently heard through the grapevine, I have good friends who are central to New Mexico's campaign for grade level reading.
Oh.
And I heard through the grapevine that you also had a moment where there was maybe a pet for the day. Tell me about pets in the library.
I love pets in the library. Not everyone shares my opinion, but I do. I love them. I think they're so fun. I've gotten to hold a baby kangaroo at the library. I've got to pet a capybara at the library. So many silly things. Being a librarian is really weird. But I think I love the pet parade. I mean, I grew up with the summer reading challenge, the Pizza Hut Book It challenge, so many early library memories. But the story you're referring to, I had a cat named Jewel when I was a kid, and I would read to her all the time. I'd read Beverly Cleary. I'd read Wayside School. I'd read Amelia Bedelia, Junie Bad and Bougie Jones. So many different stories. And I remember just telling her, Jewel, I get all these stories from the library. It's the best place in the entire world. I'm gonna take you someday. And my mom and dad were like, no, Michael, that's never gonna happen. People are allergic to cats, you can't bring the cat. And I'm like, well, can't they just stay home for a day? Can't they just not go to the library? And they were like, no, Michael, that's just not fair to people. But one day, my children's librarian greenlit the pet parade. And I was so happy. She said, kids, bring your animals. I was like, yes! My dream was coming true. I get to bring Jewel to the library. So I brought her to the library. But I always say this, that as growing educators, it was a very bad idea to have that pet parade. I had so much fun, but I think the librarians were so excited, they forgot to give out the rules. Rules are very important to families and kids. Mm-hmm. And the rule they did not say is bring your pet on a leash or in a crate. So I just showed up holding my cat. People were holding their dogs. They were holding snakes, holding their guinea pigs. My mom recently told me someone even brought a ferret because the library didn't say don't bring exotic animals. So it was so much fun, but we were just all holding on with just all of our library joy, holding on to our pets. And yes, my cat got a yellow ribbon.
Oh,
and I was like, oh, Jewel, you're #1, because I love the Golden Girls. So I associated the color yellow with Golden Girls. And I was like, Jewel, I don't know how you did it, but you're the best library cat of all time.
Amazing. Pets and libraries. So it's true that libraries are also known for rules, right? Like
Yes.
two things can be true at once.
It is very
a lot
true.
of joy and a lot of rules.
Yes.
And the two have to go together.
Yes, one and
Well,
the same.
I wish we could talk some more today,
I
but
know.
like I said, I really do hope this is the beginning of a longer conversation.
I would love that.
I am going to close this conversation, Mychal, in two ways. First, I want to announce to everybody that we have a tradition here at GSE. Some of you know about it, some of you don't. Each year, tomorrow, our graduates march to commencement together, carrying a symbol of our community and our values. And tomorrow, every graduate will carry a copy of your book into Harvard Yard.
That's so special.
I can't think of a better symbol for us, a message of joy and literacy and belonging. So thank you.
Thank you.
And finally, I have something else to share on this special and very hot day. We have created a new honorary position at the Harvard Graduate School of Education, Librarian in Residence, and it's my honor to read the proclamation of your appointment. Are we ready? I used to do this kind of reading when I chaired a state board. Whereas Mychal Threets has distinguished himself as a tireless advocate for literacy, a champion of library joy, and a vital voice in the modern evolution of library science. And whereas his dedication to fostering inclusive, safe, and imaginative spaces for readers of all ages resonates with the core values at the Harvard Graduate School of Education, and whereas the Monroe C. Gutman Library seeks to integrate professional excellence with community-driven inspiration to better serve the educators and learners of the future. Now, therefore, by the authority vested in the Dean of the Faculty of Education, let it be known that Mychal Threets is hereby appointed to the honorary position of Librarian in Residence at the Monroe C. Gutman Library.
That's amazing. Oh, that's so cool. That's amazing.
Mychal, thank you so much for coming, for sharing your story, and for all that you are doing to open doors, like everyone here, for the next generation of readers and to make the world a little brighter.
Yes.
We have small tokens of our appreciation. I wanted you to have the Library Lion just in case you don't have it.
Yes.
We have a cozy GSE blanket for your reading time. And I just read this proclamation of appointment.
Goodness.
Welcome and
so
thank you.
special.
You belong in our community.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you truly. Thank you so much.
I'm going to close out.
Thank you so much. Sorry, buddy.
All right. I want to just make a couple closing announcements. First of all, you know that this takes a village, a tremendous amount of time and energy by so many faculty and especially our staff who make today and tomorrow possible. Just a round of applause, please. Okay, are you ready for the drill in the morning? Here it goes. Here's how this goes. To all of our students, you need to be ready promptly tomorrow morning at 7:40 on Appian Way for the university commencement exercises. Do not forget your Harvard ID. You will need your Harvard ID with you, so bring your ID tomorrow. Here's how it goes in the yard. In Harvard Yard, I will present you to President Garber to confer your degrees. HGSE is always
one of the loudest schools, so let's keep that tradition going. I know it's hot, but maybe we should practice right now. Make a little noise. Practice. That'll do the trick. That'll do the trick, but give it a good go tomorrow morning. I'm standing between you and a block party on Appian Way. Enjoy, and we will see you in the morning. Thanks, everybody.